Hi, it's Christina with the Sisyphean Journal, and today's December 21st, and we're looking back to 1973. And it was around December 14th of 1973 that a 21-year-old Rockland Community College student named Beverly Agnes went to a Monsey, New York doctor's office for a safe legal abortion. She was about 5 months pregnant. For some reason, the doctor chose the risky saline installation method that had become popular in the U.S., particularly in New York and California, after those states just. New York, it was a complete free-for-all. Have at it as long as you've got MD or DO after your name. As long as you're a physician, whatever, just, dead fetus, we're good. California, you had to do it in a hospital. But there was no longer any requirement that the doctor make any kind of judgment that this was actually going to be in the woman's best interest. Going through this nasty and risky method where she feels her unborn baby thrashing and dying inside her. If you've ever read Nancy Jo Mann's story, she was the founder of Women Exploited by Abortion. She wound up letting her mother talk her into an abortion that was done by the saline method. And she wrote that she was so focused on her situation and getting out of this situation that it never occurred to her. It seems incredible, but it never occurred to her that, wait a minute, this means that the baby dies. She was so focused on the situation. And you have to wonder what's going through a doctor's mind that he thinks, this experience where you're risking brain damage, organ damage, death in order to spend a couple of days feeling your dying baby thrashing and struggling inside you to expel it, scalded and red and dead, or possibly struggling and gasping out this child's last few breaths, that this ordeal, what is the medical judgment that makes you think that this is really better for her than having the baby? Maybe she has to, be spirited away to a home for unwed mothers for a while, but that was a possibility. People handled this without the young woman going through this ordeal. But, unfortunately with abortion, there really is no doctor's judgment involved. She comes in and says, I think I need to get rid of this. I need to get out of this situation. And, well, the fastest way out of the situation is dead fetus. So, Beverly's doctor, like I said, New York was like, yeah, if you're a doctor of osteopath or a medical doctor, whatever, you got MD or DO after your name, your licensed practice medicine, whatever, up to 24 weeks, you're totally your judgment. We'll trust you. He was doing this risky procedure on an outpatient basis, pulling out as much amniotic fluid as he could and then injecting that saline and then sending Beverly home with no medical supervision, nobody to be watching for any signs that this risky abortion procedure is endangering her, that she might be suffering organ damage, that she might be suffering brain damage, that she might be in danger of death, that she might suffer a uterine rupture and start hemorrhaging internally. Nobody there to see her, just sending her home to labor through this alone. So he sent her home, and she became ill, and around December 16th, she was admitted to a hospital. That's when the doctors discovered that the saline had been injected into the uterus itself, the actual uterine muscle, rather than into the amniotic sac, and that damage to the tissues caused an overwhelming infection. So doctors performed an emergency hysterectomy to remove the uterus, and they administered massive doses of antibiotics, but it was to no avail, and Beverly finally died on December 21st. So what's interesting is the medical examiner noted that saline installation was quite a common technique for abortions, and that what Beverly suffered was just one of the hazards. He declared that there was no evidence of criminality. No action was ever taken against this doctor who went. You have to remember, Japan, Sweden, and the Soviet Union had all completely abandoned doing this, even in hospitals, because of how risky it was to the woman. This guy's doing it in his office outpatient, but what the heck. That Beverly's death was the third legal abortion death in the same New York County since the state had legalized outpatient abortion on demand in July 1st of 1970. Edith Clark had died in June of 1971, and Pamela, I can't pronounce her last name, I'm sorry, in May of 1972. So, very sad story. I think it illustrates the fact that these doctors they're technicians. You come in, they don't spend any time talking to you about what's the long-term ramifications of what you're going to go through. I think we see this a lot with the methotrexate abortions, the abortion pill, where they send you home. One doctor, Suzanne Popham, I believe it was, told the National Abortion Federation when they were doing clinical trials at her clinic that she had to get her front desk staff accustomed to these women walking in with blood just running down their legs, filling up their shoes, and pooling around their feet just while they're standing at the front desk because of how severe the bleeding is. And you really have to wonder what kind of conversations are really going on and whether any other alternatives are being offered. I sincerely doubt it. So